guys, I'm Sarah. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite things, and that is all of my favorite books from 2023. Okay, I have 51 books to talk about, and they're not all exactly, let's see, how do I put this? And not every single one of them is a 5-star read. Pretty much most of them are, but I was thinking before I started filming this video, I was trying to think of what do I constitute as a favorite book? Because I can rate books certain things, like certain star ratings and stuff, but sometimes, like, if I rate a book 3-star or 4-star even, sometimes they don't even stick with me. I'm trying to get more strict nowadays with my ratings. I was doing that this year. I think I'm going to be doing more of that now in 2024, but I think, to me, what a favorite book means is that yes, most of them are going to be 5 stars, but some of them are 4 stars or 4.5. And it's the books that stick with me in some way, either like directly after I read it for a while or even to now, they stick with me in some way, shape, or form, whether it's the characters, the storyline. And sometimes it's not even for really deep meaning. Sometimes it's just because I really enjoyed that story and it made my day or something like that. It's books that stick with you long after you close the book and put them on your shelf and move on. And in some way, shape, or form, they stick with you, and it's not in a negative way. I'll have a video about my least favorite and disappointing books later on. But yeah, so these are all books that left some sort of an impact on me. I still think about them now, or they just made me happy for whatever reason. So we're just going to jump right into it because I have a lot here. Like I said, I have I'm pretty sure it's 51 total, but anyways, we're just going to jump right into it. I'm not going to be going into great depth about any of these books, but I will leave all my Goodreads reviews down in the description because those are way easier for me to find than my recent reads videos where I might have mentioned them. You're free to look them up in my recent reads playlist if you want to do it that way, but I have a feeling I'm going to run out of text in the description if I do both, so I will leave my Goodreads reviews of each and every one of these books in the description so you can check that out. Yes, what else was I gonna say? Oh, this does not include any rereads because I reread several favorite books as well last year, but this is only including new to me books and no rereads. So yeah, let's just get right into it. The first set I have, because there's 4 of them and they all belong in the same series. I don't own them, so you'll be seeing pictures on the screen as well of the ones I don't own. And this is the first 3 books of the Brittany Fichter's Classical Kingdom series. They are fairy tale retellings. The very first book is Before Beauty. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and yeah, I normally do not like Beauty and the Beast retellings. I didn't have I wouldn't say I had high hopes for this book. I was hoping I would like her works. Previously, I had only read Clara's Soldier. I think that was the only one I had read by her at the time, and I really loved that book, so I wanted to try more of her books. This was the first series I picked up because my library had the whole, like, trilogy, because the first 3 books are all about the same 2 characters. And I wasn't super enthralled at first because Before Beauty is the author's first book. You can tell when you first start reading it, and some of the stuff was confusing at first, but once I got in, I think it was like 4 or 5 chapters in, this book hooked me. I ended up really loving it, really loving what the themes she was saying. I really ended up really loving Isa and Everard, and just they grew so much in one little book. And then the second book, Blinding Beauty, this is a retelling of the Princess of the Glass Hill on the Glass Hill, something like that. I'd never heard of this fairy tale before, and this book, it put me through the ringer because it continued Isa and Everard's story, and just it really showed how much they loved each other. Even though they were having difficulties in their marriage, they still really loved each other. But this book is the epitome of angst. I mean, because this put me through the ringer. I had to set aside one day to just sit there and finish reading it because I was so anxious about the whole thing. And I just fell in love with these characters and everything about them. And the third book is Beauty Beheld. This is a retelling of Hansel and Gretel, and just, oh my goodness, I grew to love these characters. The Isa and Everard, they really, really grew throughout this whole trilogy, and I just really love Brittany Fichter's writing. They're loosely Christian fantasy as well, because they have faith, allegory, and themes in them, and just, not really allegory, but they have faith themes in them. And it's just, I just really, really like them. I really love the characters and everything. And the fourth one that is included, this is technically 2.5. It's a short story. It's called Beauty's Bell. It's like a Christmas short story with these two. And they were just having fun for once, because my goodness, did they need a break after book 2. Thankfully, book 3 was like a year or two later. So it's like, okay, they at least had time to chill before the next disaster was thrown at them. And just, yeah, I just really love this. I love this so much that, like, one of the, like, the beginning of one of her novellas later on that I'll be talking about, it mentioned their names, and I was just, like, squealing like a fangirl, because, yes, that is how much I love these characters. And just, yes, this is the trilogy that cemented that I really love Brittany Fichter's writing, and just, I want to read everything she writes. So, yeah. Okay, the next book also, I would say this is the one. I don't actually know, because it could have been a different book. I don't know. I think this is the book that cemented I really love this author, and that is An Apprentice of Death by Nicki Chapelway. This, how do I describe this book? This is like, it's fantasy, it's young adult fantasy. It's like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's basically like a fantasy adventure, but it's also like a closed door mystery, or not really closed door, but like a you're locked in a house type murder mystery as well. And it's just, it's a really fun combination. I read an arc for this book way back at the beginning of the year, and just, this book has stuck with me. I love Wraith. I love Dirk. These characters just gripped me. I really want to reread it. I'm very excited. The second book's going to be coming out, I think, sometime in January, unless the author has to change the date for some reason. But I am so excited to continue this series. I really love this, and it's just the characters. The characters made it. The whole creativity behind the whole thing. Like, don't go in the forest and touch the moss. Just don't, because it literally made people go insane. But it's just that creativity behind her works and stuff. It's just like, and then the whole like clue murder mystery thing that was going on, I was just like, I was not expecting that when I first read this book. I was like, whoa, what are we doing here? But this is fun. And yeah, it's just, it's an amazing book. Nicki Chapelway is an amazing author, and I just really want to read everything she's written too. But I'm pretty sure, I really liked Rage Like the Gods. I read that book last year, but I'm pretty sure this book cemented that I really love this author. So yeah, this is just amazing, and I honestly can't wait to reread this one and read the second one. Hey, so Future Sarah here. When I looked over my list later after I filmed, I realized I forgot a book, and I loved this book so much that I didn't want to leave it out. So yeah, the book I forgot is The Gods Created Monsters. This is by Nicki Chapelway as well, and I love this book. Obviously it's on my favorites list, but yeah, this is definitely, if you have watched the Marvel movies for the Guardians of the Galaxy, the author has compared it to that. This has compared that book to that movie. I would also say, if you watch the new Dungeons and Dragons movie, the Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves, it came out last year. If you watch that one and you like the dynamics with the characters in that one, this is very similar to that. Yeah, just basically these random misfits, like some of them are criminals, some of them one of them just wants revenge, one of them just wants everybody to get along. These different characters from different lifestyles are basically just brought together to become monster hunters in this fantasy world where basically they're kind of in the end of the world, and like the dead are rising again and stuff like that. So this group of characters that do not fit very well together at all are recruited by this one guy to basically slay a lot of these monsters that are coming alive again. It is set in the same time frame as Nicki Chapelway's book Rage Like the Gods. It is set in the same universe, the same time frame. They're kind of parallel to each other as far as I can tell. Both series only have one book out so far, so it's kind of hard to tell at this point. But I really, really enjoyed this book. The characters were the best part about it, because pretty much the plot line is just like kind of one of those getting all the gang together type stories. And there isn't much like monster hunting except at the very, very end when they come across a group because of things that happen. But yeah, this is definitely just introducing all the characters, and they are all really great. I definitely love, I forget the main girl's name. I know it starts with an A, but I don't want to say it incorrectly. I have a name in my head, but I don't know if it's correct. But I really love her and Conan. He is an absolute sweetheart. I love him as well. There's also a cat involved because the main girl, she has a cat named Fluff. And like the elf takes a liking to him, and it's just super cute. It's super great. It's definitely a found family trope. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this one, and I wanted to include it. So yeah, with that addition into, back to the video. Okay, the next one is actually an ongoing series, but I read the first 3 books last year, and that is the Midnight Hour series by Makenzie Gray, which is a pen name for Michaela Bush, who is the author of A Dance of Rebels and the Legends of Lanneria series, which I've been talking about probably ever since I started this channel. I mean, not A Dance of Rebels, that just came out this year, but that'll be continuing on to the rest of my life on this channel. But yes, the Midnight Hour series. This is Christian dystopian. I think she has it marketed as YA. I don't actually know. The first book is definitely YA. Well, I would technically say the whole series is YA. I mean, they're about like 18, 19. In the later books, I think the main character is 15 in the first book. But anyways, this is basically Left Behind, but better. That is my opinion on this. She takes like the Revelation prophecies and stuff, and she puts her own spin to it, and like what these characters are doing at the time and things like that. And it's thrilling, it's gripping. All these books end on cliffhangers though, so be warned, because the series is not over yet. Book 4 came out last year. I haven't read it yet, because I know the cliffhanger will destroy me. But yeah, because every single one of these destroyed me. The one at the 3rd book, that had the worst cliffhanger. But yeah, but Those with Ears is the first book. Let Them Hear is the second book. And the 3rd book is Eyes to See. And I really love this. There's not a lot of dystopian coming out nowadays, which is really sad, because I really like dystopian. It's really hard to find them without love triangles in it, though, if they're young adult, which is annoying. But, you know, that's just me and my hatred of love triangles. But yeah, but I really, really like this story. There's multiple characters, there's multiple things going on. It's just crazy what is going on, but the faith content is really good. It's really powerful. Yeah, I would highly recommend this, especially if you like Christian dystopian, like especially YA dystopian. I would say this is very much like, I don't know if it says comparisons, but it's kind of like the Hunger Games in a way, but there's violence. But I wouldn't say it's as brutal. No, it's brutal. Never mind. It's just Christian dystopian. It's really good. You should try it. Maybe I'll just leave it at that. Okay. The next books I have to talk about, I only pulled out the first book in every trilogy because there's quite a few of them. I buddy read these with my family this year. We literally went into these not knowing what was going on. These are urban fantasy. These have made me a fan of urban fantasy forever. And those books are The Magiford Universe by K.M. Shea. These are amazing. They're awesome. The first trilogy is Hall of Blood and Mercy, but the first book being Magic Forge. I wasn't so sure at the very beginning. I gave this book particularly 4.5 stars. I had read her books previously. I had read several of them. I really love her Second Age of Retha series, which is like a video game series. But yeah, this one was just I wasn't sure about it, especially because the very first trilogy is about wizards and vampires, and I wasn't sure about the vampire thing. This was before I started reading books with vampires in them and stuff like that, so I was a little hesitant going in, but I had all the ebooks from a sale she had run before. My family was interested in we were interested in doing buddy reading together, and so we picked this one as our first one, kind of just randomly, because I'd read things by her before, and I was like, hey, she's a good author, let's try these, since we all have access to this one series. And yeah, it was way better than I thought it would be. Yeah, she handles the vampire thing very well in this series, and it's just, yeah, I fell in love with Hazel and Killian. Those are the two main characters. I fell in love with them, fell in love with the whole Drake family of vampires, just the whole thing. All of Magiford is really great, because the second series is Court of Midnight and Deception. We follow the Layla in the Fey Court, and it's just, it just continued to get better. Every single book we read was better, even though this particular book I only gave 4 stars because the Fae were so petty, I was getting irritated with it. But her other 2 books in this trilogy were just amazing. The cliffhangers on these, though, are brutal, which is why on her newest trilogy, Magic on Main Street, we are waiting till the 3rd book comes out before we read them, because they're just bad. They're really terrible cliffhangers. The 3rd trilogy is Pack of Dawn and Destiny. This follows werewolves, and it's just, these are amazing books. The characters are dynamic. Every single character in this series is totally different. They're totally vibrant. You can, like, tell which character is which, and they don't ever, like, have personality crossovers with any of the other characters in any of the other series, and it's just amazing. And the 4th series, and currently the complete, the 4th in trilogy in this series is Gate of Myth and Power. This one, the cliffhangers on these trilogies, especially for the 2nd book, were that book, the cliffhanger on the 2nd book for this trilogy devastated me. I mean, it kind of did for Lila's too, but yeah, it's just, these books are amazing. The characters are all wonderful. The whole situation is wonderful. I would recommend reading them in publication date order, which means you start with this trilogy, then Layla's, then Pip's, and then Chloe's, because there's an overarching storyline with this mysterious organization that is kind of like attacking these supernatural creatures and these supernatural beings and stuff. So there is an overarching plot line with that, so I would recommend reading them in publication date order. You don't necessarily have to. You will also get spoilers if you do not read them in publication date order, but these are just amazing books. I really enjoyed them. I am very excited for the next trilogy, like I said, which is Magic on Main Street. It's just, they're amazing. They're just honestly amazing. Clean urban fantasy, which is super hard to find. Like, oh my goodness. I think urban fantasy might be the hardest one to find with clean stuff in it, because it's like, I think I found like 2 series. One of them was Magiford. The other one's The Dragon of 23rd Street by Kenley Davidson, which I will put as an honorable mention because I really enjoyed those too. But yeah, yeah, there is something about these books that just made my entire family fall in love with them. We are eagerly awaiting for the last book of the next series to release in April, and yeah, we are just super excited about them, and I just love these and wish other people would read them too. Alright, and the next one I'm going to talk about is a continuation of a series, so I'm not going to spend too long on it. That is Yona of the Dawn. This is a manga series that I've been reading, and yeah, I read the volumes 37, 38, 39, and 40 this year. I super enjoyed this. I buddy read these with my friend Laura. We had a grand time screaming and having all kinds of problems with everything that was going on with this whole thing. These are amazing. These characters are awesome. They have grown so much. I am very excited to continue this series until it ends. Next one I have is actually my first nonfiction. I was debating whether to include nonfiction on this list, but I have 2 actually, but this is the first one, and it was so good that I cannot not put it on this list, and that is Fight Right by Carla Hoach. This is how to write believable fight scenes. yes, this is an amazing book. It has definitely changed the way I look at writing my fight scenes and stuff in my own works, and since I write a lot of action in my books, this is super helpful, and it's definitely changed how I look at it, and I almost kind of want to read it again, but I'm currently reading another writing book right now, so we'll see if I feel like reading this again after I read that one. But yeah, this is an amazing book. It's definitely a must, I would say, if you write action scenes in your books and you're a writer. Yeah, definitely a must, and I really, really enjoyed this. It taught me a ton. Okay, and the next series I have to talk about is actually the first 3 volumes of it's like a prequel to the actual series. Anyways, that is QQ Sweeper. This is a manga series. It's 3 volumes. It is actually the prequel to Queen's Quality, which is, it's kind of just like the first 3 volumes. It's not really a prequel. They just changed the name when they changed publishers, I think. But, yeah, anyways, I wasn't sure what to think about this one. I'd heard my friend Laura, sorry. I'd heard my friend Laura talking about this series. I don't know what's going on in my throat right now. Anyways, I didn't really know what to think about this at first, because it was like, it's like a supernatural it's a supernatural story, like, take on mental health and mental illness and stuff. So it was a very interesting concept. I wanted to try it. My library had all 3, so I was just like, okay, I will try it. And I ended up really liking this. The characters are supreme. I mean, in all of these, you're going to notice, if you haven't already, you're going to notice a theme of the characters are what usually win me over in these things. And these characters are just, they're hilarious. Fumi doesn't really remember her past, so I'm very curious to see how that will unfold in Queen's Quality. And yeah, I really liked it. It was a very unique take on showing mental illness and mental, like, just differences, and how we should clean our minds and stuff like that. You could very easily, even though it's a secular manga, you could very easily put it into a Christian perspective, and it was a really unique look at that, from just a different angle and a different way of approaching mental illness and stuff, and just how we all have bugs in us that is just like, it's all the negative stuff that we need to get out and stuff like that. And it's just, yeah, I really enjoyed that, and I'm really excited to continue with Queen's Quality and see if I continue to like the series. But regardless, I really like these 3 volumes. The next one I have on the list I also don't have, but this one was a shocker to me, and that is Caraval by Stephanie Garber. I have not continued the series yet. I am planning on continuing the series this year, and this book surprised me. Mainly it is young adult fantasy, and I didn't know what to think at first. Okay, I've always been curious about this, though I thought, bizarrely, this was about a circus. It's not. It's just about this island that kind of has, like, I guess, where you play a game on it, and you're like, it's kind of almost like an immersive type game where you're like living it, but it has to do with magic and stuff. So maybe that's where I got the circus part from, even though it's not a magical circus. So I'm not quite sure where I heard that or I got that vibe. I'm not sure, but yeah, this book really surprised me because I ended up really liking it. Yeah, it just had a different, it's not really poetically written, but I don't know, something about it just grabbed me and really invested me. I really liked Scarlett. I really liked Julian too. Well, he was a little bit tricky at first, but I did end up really liking him too. And just the whole situation was interesting. And yeah, I'm very curious to continue with it. But even if I don't like the rest of the books, I still love this one. It works fine as a standalone on its own, except for like the epilogue, which kind of alludes to more. But even if I don't end up liking the rest of the books, I still really like this one. I don't even know why, but it's just something about it at the time really grabbed me and just really spoke to me. And I just really enjoy it and really love it for that. The next three is another series by Brittany Fichter. Are you surprised? No, you shouldn't be by now. I don't think, nope, I do have another book on here. And that is the Neverland Fairy Tales novella series. The first book is The White Slipper. This is a retelling of The White Slipper. they're fairy tale retellings, and yeah, this is the old cover version. I'll put a picture up here of what the new cover version looks like. I bought this before she switched the covers. Eventually, I might get a copy with the new cover on it, but I'm quite happy with this one. This is the book where at the very beginning, it mentioned Isa and Everard's names, and I squealed like an idiotic fangirl. But yeah, this one especially really grabbed me at the time. The way what River and Elliot were going through really spoke to me. I just really enjoyed this. It was a sweet romance. I really enjoyed all of these, but this one especially grabbed me at the time. And then several months later, I got and read The Princess Dangerous Wish, which is the second book. This is a retelling of The Pink, which is a Grimm's Brother fairy tale. I don't know who wrote The White Slipper. But yeah, it's just... This one was very unique in the fact that it's all told from just the prince's perspective, which is not often done in fairy tale retellings. And it's just, I really love this too. What's his name? Rolf, I think. Yeah, Rolf, yeah. What he went through, oh no, his mother's perspective is also in this, I forgot. But yeah, it's just, the way Brittany writes characters is just, and situations and love stories and stuff is just gripping. It's so realistic. It's so swoony. It's also so realistic, and it's just, I just really love it. And then later on, I think like a month or two later, I read the third book, which is The Enchanted Wreath, which is a retelling of The Enchanted Wreath, and this one also really grabbed me. This one is almost quite horrifying. What happens to them is like when I got near that, I was just like, oh my goodness, what is going on here? And it's just, this fairy tale must be very interesting, the original. At some point, I need to find the originals of all these. I read the original of The Pink. That was really interesting. But I need to find the original of this one because it's like, okay, we almost got horror vibes there at the end. It was, but not that horrifying, but it was just like the situation they were in. It was just like, okay, this is intense. And it's just... But the relationship in here, the romance, what the characters go through, it's just all so gripping and amazing. And every single time I read one of her books, they seem to touch me at the exact right time. And yeah, that was no exception for these three. I just deeply love these. And I'm really, really happy I read them. And it's just, yeah, I just deeply love these books. So yes. I mean, obviously, if I didn't, they wouldn't be on this list. But anyways. Okay. The next book is The Earth Treader by Alissa J. Zavalianos. I do not know if that's how you say the author's last name. I'm guessing from the way it's spelled. So I apologize if that is incorrect. This one made me remember why I love fantasy so much. That was a really interesting thing. My library surprisingly had this book. I didn't think they would. It's an indie print book. But they had it, so I got it out, and I read it, and I just, again, fell in love with the characters, fell in love with the story. Even though it's a very basic, kind of like quest-like plot, it reminded me of, like, sort of like the classic fantasy tropes, like quests and stuff like that. And it really reminded me why I love fantasy so much. It reminded me of the things that drew me to the genre to begin with from other books. And yeah, it just really reminded me of my love for that. It's a beautiful story. I just really enjoyed that. I also enjoyed the short story epilogue, From the Mountains to the Valley. It is a cute little book. Yeah, this is just a little short story epilogue, and I super enjoyed this because I did like the ending of The Earth Treader, but I did feel like there could be more, so I was really happy that we got this extended short story that definitely gave me the more I was looking for. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed these books, and yeah, I'm very excited to read more by this author. The next one is another secular book that really surprised me because most, like, secular mainstream books, or even just mainstream traditionally published books, whether they're Christian or secular, I generally don't like. So this one was a shocker to me, especially because I did like one of her books once, but then I tried to reread it and I changed my mind, and I haven't liked any of her others, and that is 1,000 Heartbeats by Kira Cass. this book shocked me. First of all, it has a beautiful cover. Second of all, there was like some mixed opinions going around where some of my friends really, really loved it. Reese, hello. Yeah, she's the one who technically, her review of it made me bump it up on my TBR to read it sooner. So, thank you, Reese. You are the reason that I read this sooner. But most of the other people I knew of, like, they either liked it or they didn't. It was very almost like polarizing opinions on this book, and that was more after I read it, but I read it kind of like during its hype, sort of. But yeah, I got this out the same year it was released, and I really enjoyed this. This book actually showed, to me, it showed really Christian love and forgiveness in a way that it really hit me, because a lot of even Christian books don't get that across as well as this book managed to, at least in my opinion. And it really hit me, that part especially. And it's just, yeah, it really spoke to me, and it, yeah, made me fall in love with the book. I mean, I love the characters too, and it's just, the whole thing was just, I don't know how to put this into words. It was just kind of really, it's not really revolutionary, but it just reminded me again of the love that we're supposed to show that Jesus has, and the forgiveness, and how, as, you know, followers of Christ, we're supposed to show that, even though this book isn't Christian. The author's a Christian, but the book isn't. And even in that way, her faith still shone through. And it just really hit me, and I really love it for that, and I can't wait to get a copy of it. Next book I have is another Brittany Fichter book. Are we shocked yet? No, we are probably not, but you're probably shocked by the genre. This is My Las Vegas Airman. This is a contemporary romance. Yes, I would call it Christian contemporary because they do talk about God and stuff in there. It's a very light faith content, but I would still call it Christian contemporary. And yeah, this is actually a very, very, very loose retelling of The Princess and the Pea. So yeah, the characters are what made this one for me. But even then, what Skylar was going through in her realizations about how she was having other people almost like pressure her and stuff, or she was letting other people make her decisions for her, that hit me so hard, because at the time I was doing the same thing, and then I read that in her book, and I was like, oh wait, I'm doing that. And again, with Brittany Fichter's books and me reading them at the exact time when I need to. And Skylar is also such a fun character. She is like one of the wackiest yet sanest characters I know. She is amazing. I really loved Chris too. And it's just, yeah, this book had all the swoony vibes, and I just really enjoyed it. And also just that impact of what Skylar was going through, and even Chris to a degree, what they were going through and how it related to me and my situation at the time and stuff. So yeah, really enjoyed that one too. I mean, I enjoyed all these. Why do I keep saying that? Whatever. Next one. Ooh, this one, if I had to pick almost a favorite of the year, just one, this might be it. I adored this book, and that is The Crownless Prince by Selina R. Gonzalez. This is a gender-bent retelling of Maid Malene. I have never read this fairy tale, or technically I had only heard of it as a fairy tale retelling because Brittany Fichter has one too, so that's where I first heard about it. But this book, this has all the Selina R. Gonzalez swoony romance that you could hope for. Also just has an intense plot. It's a novella, so it's not that big. It doesn't matter with her writing. She still has an intense plot, and you're still wondering, is everyone going to come out alive at the end? Because that is just how she writes, and she does amazingly well at it. And yeah, the characters made this one for me. Marcus is a complete sweetheart. I adore him. He is just the best. Adriana was amazing as well, and I really liked that she had curly hair, because, I mean, it seems like a weird thing, because I don't have curly hair, but my mom does, so the thing she was mentioning about curly hair in there is like, this author must have somebody in her family who has curly hair, if not herself, because the way she was mentioning things is like, yeah, that's stuff my mom complains about all the time. So it's like, it was like, almost like curly hair representation, which is kind of a stupid thing to point out, but you know, I thought it was, those little details were fun and I really enjoyed that. But anyways, but even without that, I would have still loved this book because these two are perfect together. It kind of has that forbidden love aspect, which this is the type of forbidden romance I enjoy. So yeah, I was eating that up, even though I was also going like, bah, this better end well. Yeah. So yes, this might, except it has some fierce contenders because an Apprentice of Death and Brittany's books are way up there too. So probably maybe not the exact total favorite of the year, but it's pretty darn close. And on this author's books, the next one I also have to mention, though it's a little less than The Crownless Prince, but I also loved A Fated Quest. This is the third book in the Marigold Chronicles. This is a retelling of, actually it's not really a retelling, it's more inspired by the fairy tales The Golden Bird and Tarsevek Ivan. Or no, The Golden Bird is one of them. Then the second one it's also inspired by is Tarsevek Ivan, The Firebird, and The Grey Wolf. So, I've never heard, I think The Golden Bird might be a Grimm's Brother story. I've heard that title before. I don't know who wrote that one. The other one I'm guessing is Russian, at least with the whole Tarsevek Ivan. I'm guessing that one might be Russian, but I don't actually know, never heard of it. But this book, this is Gareth's book, so for anybody who's read A Thieving Curse, which is the first book, you know that is the main girl character, Raeliana's brother. This is his story, and it's amazing. As always, this one had a little less of the romance. It still has a romance, but it's a little less on that side and more, it just more focuses on Gareth's point of view of things and his kind of almost like his brotherly bond with the talking fox, Leo. Yes, that sounds weird, but Leo is the absolute best. He is amazing. He's a philosophizing rock. A rock? He's not a rock at all. What? He is a philosophizing fox. Yeah. Yeah, and he is awesome. He was probably my favorite character. But yeah, I still really enjoyed this too. Not as much as Crownless Prince, but still really enjoyed this one, so I had to put it on the list. I should probably speed this up. I'm going to run out of time before we have to do dinner. But the next book, actually the next two kind of have to go together, even though they're vastly different from each other. And so I'm just going to talk about them at the same time. That is Coral by Sarah Ella, and scoot over so I can fit the picture in, for at least editing Sarah can. And that is The Love and the Sea and Everything in Between by Brian McBride. Both of these books, pretty much the only thing in common they have is they're both contemporaries. Otherwise, this is a very loose retelling of The Little Mermaid, so it has fantasy elements, and Brian McBride's book is a contemporary Christian story. So, but they both deal with mental illness, mental health, and suicide. And those are all topics very near and dear to my heart in many ways. And both of these books were really hard to read at times. Coral, I even had to put down a few times and read something else because it was so... Not that it was heavy, but what it was talking about and how close it is to me in all the aspects that the characters were going through, it just really touched me. I love how she portrayed everything. It was just very realistic. Brian McBride's book was the same way, not quite as intense. I did read that one faster, but the way he portrayed mental illness and stuff and just how the two correlated well together, because I read these very close together and they were exactly what I needed at the time to help me kind of establish different opinions about my own mental illness is going on and stuff, because I have depression, if you don't know. So yeah, it's just I have depression and like I'm pretty sure social anxiety. I mean, that makes sense. I'm an introvert, so it makes sense. But anyways, yeah, but these books definitely really helped me with establishing that, especially with Adam, Brian McBride's character. He was just a very sensitive individual, and that is not normally pointed out in these types of books, and I really like how he approached it and how people like that are often affected by mental illness, and maybe it's just because they have to be stronger for everybody else who doesn't notice it, and I just really liked his opinion on that. Coral was very similar in that way of just like showing healing and stuff, and just how sometimes there is no fix, and it's not anybody's fault. It's just the way it works. And I really like the quote in here of where she said, I forget exactly how it's worded, but it's like, depression is a sickness. It's like, you know, it's an actual sickness, and nobody just tells somebody with cancer to get over it. But people tell that to people with depression and anxiety all the time, and it shouldn't be that way. And I just really liked that. That's not exactly how the quote went. It was much more eloquently written than that, but that was the context of it. And yeah, it just matched up with what was being talked about in Love in the Sea. And I really loved these two books, and they were both hard-hitting books, but I really enjoyed them for different reasons, but they were exactly what I needed at the time. And yeah, just very powerful books, and I recommend them if you want to learn more about mental illness. Definitely for both books, though, look up triggers if you have any sort of like depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, suicide history, or anything like that. I would definitely look up triggers for those. Okay, we are almost done with my stack. The next one I have to talk about is Orange to You, Dear One. This is the 7th and final volume in the Orange manga series. I just love this. It's the ultimate perfect ending for this series, and it was just amazing. I really enjoyed this. This was gifted to me by my friend Laura, along with the next series I'm going to be talking about, and I wouldn't have read this sooner if she hadn't given it to me, but I needed to read it, and it was the perfect ending, and I'm really, really glad that I know a lot of people have been saying in reviews that this volume doesn't necessarily need to exist, and I disagree. This volume was the absolute best ending for the series, and I am very glad that the mangaka published this. And the next series I'm going to talk about, these were also gifted to me by Laura, and that is My Happy Marriage. This was a series I was on the fence about. It is historical fantasy, and I really enjoyed this. I gave the first volume 4 stars, but the second and third volumes I gave 5 stars. This just is perfect. I really love these. What Maya is going through in her journey of overcoming abuse and just living a happy life, and it's amazing. These characters are amazing. The artwork is beautiful. I really can't wait to read more, and I hope I continue to like this series. I really hope this doesn't go downhill in any way. But yeah, I'm also really excited to try the light novels that these are based off of, and yeah, this was just a beautiful story with wonderful characters. This actually surprised me a lot because I was on the fence about reading it because my library didn't have it. I wasn't sure if I would like it because a lot of manga, I have not been having good luck with manga recently. So I was a little hesitant about this one, even though it sounded interesting, and yeah, I just super enjoyed this, more than I thought I would, and I'm just really happy she gave them to me and that I was able to experience it and discover it for myself. So yeah. And Laura, if you're watching this video, thank you very much for all these volumes because I super appreciate them. Okay, I hope that doesn't fall over. Let me move them, actually, because that's going to fall over. Okay. All right, my last few, I'm just going to talk about the ones I don't have first, then show you the last two. The next ones, I want to point out that I really like this author's superhero universe that is written by H.L. Burke. I've read multiple books in her multiple series in 2023. It was my first time reading these, and I enjoyed a lot of them. I gave pretty much most of them 4 stars, but these are the 5 stars that stood out to me for different reasons. The first one is Power On. This is the first book in her Supervillain Rescue Project series. This is her young adult series, and this series, we follow like 3 teenagers, superpowered teenagers, but Jake is the one, he just had so much, like, he had such a chip on his shoulder at first. He's basically rescued from the life of being a supervillain. He doesn't want to be rescued at first, but then he kind of grows to start liking where he is, and just seeing his growth throughout this series was what kept me hooked to it. I mean, I like the other characters and the storylines too, but yeah, his growth especially the ending of this book made me cry because of just how Fate and Prism took him in, and it was amazing, and I really liked it. The second 5-star book is Power Up, which is the 4th book of the same series. This just concluded Jake's arc in this story and set up more, and yeah, I just really enjoyed his character and seeing him grow, and this continues on into the 3rd book of the supervillain romance project series, Captured by a Supervillain. This one was adorable. This one was amazing, and it's tied to Jake. I'm just going to leave it at that. I would suggest you read the young adult series before you read this book, because Jake is in this book, and yeah, it ties to him. I just really liked seeing where he was later on, and then also Juliet, who is let's see, the main guy character of the first 2 books in this series. His youngest sister is Juliet, and just seeing her interact with everything, and the whole, this sounds weird, but the whole like kidnappee falls in love with their kidnapper type storyline, this was done really, really well. That sounds messed up, but that whole plot line, but this actually really works. The author wrote it in a way that wasn't creepy or weird or anything at all, and I just loved this story. It captivated me from start to finish. It followed one of my favorite characters in this series, and yeah, I can't wait to read the 4th one, which also continues their story. So yeah, I just haven't been in the mood for it yet. Also, yeah, I'm actually just gonna throw this one in here too. Even though this was a 4-star read, I thought this was adorable, and it has stuck with me, and that is A Superhero for Christmas. Yeah, this is just which is the 1st book in her superhero romance project series, because I have been reading this series all over the place. All these series, like, I've started all of them, and I think I've only finished one of them. But yeah, but this book was just super cute. It was the light read with depth to it that I needed at the time, and yeah, I just really enjoyed that one too, so I wanted to throw it up here as like kind of an honorable mention. Okay, and my last 2 books, one of them, okay, I'm going to talk about that one first, because technically I finished this book in January, but it was like 2 days. It was like I finished on January 2nd, so the majority of it I read in 2023. That is Back to Him by Michaela Bush, a 30-day devotional on giving up old hurts and relying on God. This is what I would call a almost perfect devotional, basically, because most devotionals I don't really care for. They're just kind of light and fluffy, or they're just there. It's just like fluff. I just don't care. I don't really like fluff. But yeah, and this one is not that. It really brought up some things I'm still struggling with, and just, it really brought up things I was struggling with and helped me take those things to God and try to fix my attitude about those things and stuff. And this also has like Bible verses and references that you can dive deeper into it after each one, and it's just definitely, if you're hurting and need to heal from pretty much anything, I would say pick this book up, because it is amazing. This is Michaela's first nonfiction book, and she did an amazing job, in my opinion. So yeah, I wanted to put it on here, even though I technically finished this in 2024. I read the majority of it in 2023, so I'm counting it as a favorite of 2023. And the last book, but certainly, this would be contender for almost favorite of the year too. This is why I don't do just like one favorite book of the year, because that would be impossible. But yeah, this is a book you probably just saw in my most recent reads video. That sounds weird, but that's technically how it goes. Anyways, that is A Dance of Rebels by Michaela Bush. This is a Nutcracker retelling, and it talks about human trafficking in such a sensitive way, and it's just, light overcomes darkness in such powerful ways. Verity and Ernest are amazing characters. This is just an amazing book. I really enjoyed this. Yes, technically, yes, I both read this for the first time and reread this, because I was a beta reader for this book, and just, it was amazing. It was amazing both times. Michaela has such a gift for writing these powerful themes and messages into such a heart-wrenching, problem we have in this world, that she just shone light on it so that the darkness cannot hide it anymore. And it's just, I love this. I love this cover. I love this book. It is amazing. Yeah, this is just definitely one of my favorites. Very, very close, again, to being my favorite of the year. But again, I cannot pick just one book, which is why I have a giant video of 51 books. So yeah, I super enjoyed this book though, and I would encourage you to read it because it is amazing. So yeah, that is it. Those are all my favorite books of 2023, and technically sort of into 2024 if we count that for Back to Him. But like I said, read the majority of 2023, so I'm counting it. That was a lot of books. I had a really good reading year in 2023, and I hope I continue to have that in 2024 as well, because I'm definitely narrowing down what I like in books and stuff, and I'm definitely being very, hopefully, very good with DNFing books. I didn't quite succeed all the time because there were definitely a couple books last year where I look at them and I'm like, yeah, I should have DNF'd those, but I didn't. But yeah, hopefully I will continue to do better this year. But yeah, I really had a good reading year, so even though these are all my favorites, I also read a bunch of other amazing books as well. You can always check out my Goodreads, like, year in books or whatever, because my Goodreads is linked down below if you're interested. So you can always see all the books I read. I read like 229 books last year, so you know, that's a lot of books. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to list your own favorite books from last year down below. Unless you have a million like me, then just like, I don't know, pick one or two. I'd be happy to hear what they were and see all the wonderful books being recommended down below. And yeah, thank you so much you guys for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!